Welcome everyone, and let me tell you something. This tier list will be based on how easy it is to play a civ. Should you pick that civ up or not? But again, this civ tier list is only for the players who are beginner players who are just want to start playing the game, or just want to switch to another civilization. Now, after watching so many games, because I have to watch so many games that people played, and to understand the win rates as well, why this civ has a huge win rate, why that civ has a bad win rate, etc. I understood what is the problem or how to play the civs, like you need to get into it. So, first of all, the most beginner civilization, in my honest opinion, is not gonna be the English. First of all, it's gonna be OOTD. The reason behind that, because OOTD doesn't need to micro that much. You need to most of the time macro, but not really micro. And when I'm watching these low league gamers, they actually play an A move game all their games. They don't even. I couldn't even see a single OTD game where the player actually microed. And the reason why this civilization won the game, let's say it's a gold league, right? So the reason why this guy won the game instead of the Chinese, because also the Chinese player didn't micro, right? So when you are playing with, let's say, China or OOTD, the only difference is gonna be between you is the micro. If you don't micro with OOTD, you have zero problem. Absolutely no problem. You can do whatever you want to do. But if you don't micro with China, most of the time, obviously, you will lose the fight because you need to aim to the target or just pull your units back or A move or step move, all the things, you know, you know. So first of all, OOTD is one of the best beginner civilization. I can tell you that if you pick OOTD as a beginner civilization, you will not have a slightest problem. Next one. Same with Japanese. Japanese is a very nice and easy beginner civilization. You have also men at arms in the feudal age, so you can make very nice looking units. But it's not just about the nice looking units. But we know the men at arms are really good and strong. Not against knights, of course, or crossbow. But also they have Ona Brigeisha, which also an A attacking movie unit where you don't need to micro at all. You just let your units to fight, and that's why also Japanese is really good civilization. You get the food landmark as well for feudal, so you don't really need to build farms. You can get all the natural resources while you are getting the free food from the free farm generating landmark, right? So you have the OOTD, that's very easy to micro. You have the Japanese, that's very easy to micro and very easy to macro. So both civilization, if you are a beginner player or you want to switch to a much easier civilization to play with, you can pick either OOTD or Japanese. Now English is, in my honest opinion, not as beginner friendly like OOTD or Japanese, but they are very easy and simple to play. Because what you need to do is actually just spam farms, or maybe you go to TC or King. They are not the beginner friendly civilization, I would say, but they are very simple and easy to play with them. So they are not like challenging or hard civilization to play with, but they are very simple, very easy. So if you wish to pick up easy mode, then you should pick up English or French. Both English, French, again, very simple what you need to do. With French, you need to make knights. With English, you need to make lombos, right? You can make a lot of villagers, and even if you sometimes forgot to make villagers, it's not as punishing because the French makes villagers much faster. And I can tell you that 100 million% that there's gonna be games where both player forgot to make villagers, but the French player will actually make villagers faster. So that's really good. Another beginner civilization is the House of Lancaster. Now you're asking, why is the House of Lancaster such a beginner civilization to play with? Well, because they spawn with more sheep. So even if you have hard time to find sheep on the map, you have zero problem because you spawn with I think 4 extra sheep. So you have 9 at the start, which is crazy. That's enough to go to castle. Not really, but that's a lot of food. Because that's how much? Let's calculate it together. It's 200, 200, 400, 200, 200, 800 extra food compared to other civilization. And also you get her from sheep much faster as well. You have insanely good landmarks in feudal and castle. Very defensive, and it's very simple what you need to do. You just need to build manors. Well, you know, if you forgot to build villager, then you just build manor, and that's all you need to do. You have a really good Metatarm as well in the Castle Age, really nice units in Feudal, the Yeoman or the Spearman. And let's say if you accidentally upgraded the synchronized shot, you use the synchronized shot, and it's very easy on the low league as well because people doesn't move their units. So most of the time your synchronized shot will land and destroy the enemy. Range units, of course. Or Spearman. Or unarmored units. But well, anyway, so the House of Lancaster as well as a really good beginner civilization because you can hold the feudal men-at-arms with your manors or Lord of Lancaster or your spearman. Your spearman can remove 1 or more from the enemy men-at-arm, which makes them really vulnerable. So you can easily kill the enemy men-at-arm with your -1/1. Really nice. The next civilization that we are talking about, and it's gonna be very simple and easy. Now, which one gonna be? Of course, it's the Abbasid. This trio is one of the most easiest civs to play together. Abbasid, very simple, very easy what you need to do. You can go 2TC or 2TC or 2TC or 2TC. Did I told you that? You can make 2TC. So most of the time, Abbasid will go 2TC. Of course, there are like option, fast castle, or trading, but the most simplest way to play that you are going into economic wing and just build a second TC. And after that, we just spam farms because we have English, you know, English at home. Like literally, you have cheap farms just like English with the economic wing, so you can spam farms. Very simple, very easy to play with. And your Gulam army with their A move or the million cannon archers will mostly win the game for you. Now the next one we're gonna play is gonna be actually a horse civilization, which is the China. There is also the reason why their win rate is insanely bad, because China is really challenging to play with, because how you manage your IOs, where you put the IOs when you are collecting taxes, do you boost stone, gold, wood, do you even put IO on granaries, etc. And because of that, people on low league can't really use the full strength of China, right? They just can't. They just don't know how to fully mine out all the abilities and everything that China has, and because of that, the win rate is tanked down like crazy. And also, I watched, I'm not joking, 12 Chinese game, 6 from Gold League and 6 from Platinum League, and they have absolutely no idea how to use the IO or when to make IOs, and that because of that you are missing on a lot of timings where if you play with OTD you just Bellator, it's gonna be good, you know. And that's the reason why China is more harder to play with like OTT, because of all the economic or the China taxation, have when to collect tax, when to boost your resources and etc. That's a huge difference between them. Now next one, JD. JD is also a challenging, it's not an intermediate but a challenging, because JD is all around. JD is your heart of the swarm, you know what I mean? So if you lose JD, you actually losing all your bonuses, because what French has, it's much simple, faster villager production, cheaper economical buildings, and many more, cheaper keeps. JD has to be alive all the time. You cannot lose JD. If you lose JD, you always lose gold and the abilities. And JD because it doesn't really have the French uniqueness, right? It doesn't have faster villager production, doesn't have keep influence. If you can't put your abilities on buildings, then it's gonna be really challenging to play with the civilization. Of course, it's just as simple as French. Like you just make knights and archers, knights and knights and more knights, and just make knights and more knights and knights and more knights, and that's just like French. But because all your bonuses are around JD, and if you lose it, or if you forget to level it up, because I see even low league players forget to level up JD. I don't think even they know that there is a button to level up JD. But I see many players who forgot to level up JD to level 2, or they are losing JD a hell lot. So JD is gonna be challenging for you. Now Malian is also a horse civilization, because Malian doesn't have Manatorm. It has a freeborn warrior with the foreign bagation, but foreign bagation is not as strong as people believe, and even on high league people don't go freeborn warrior, they go poison javelin throwers. So they go poison javelin throwers, not freeborn warrior. What Malian makes it really hard to play with. But first of all, again, as I said, you don't have Benatorn. You don't have crossbow, because your crossbow is actually a melee unit called Musafari Warrior. So you always have to micro your Musafari Warriors to make sure they are hitting the armor targets and not the light armor targets. Your range anti-range units called Javelin Thrower, if you have, let's say, 20 Javelin Throwers and you shoot one archer, then you are overkilling that archer so much that while you are finishing to kill all the enemy archer, you already lost all the Javelin Thrower. Insanely micro intensive civilization. You need to know your whole economy. You really need to know your economy. Very macro dependent as well. Mongols. Mongols, it's really an intermediate civ. It's not really challenging and not really easy, but it's literally in this middle way. You don't need to build houses, so you can put yourself into a supply bug. You can go to TTC or you can go to trade, and you just need to build pastures. Like every time when you have 150 wood in your bank, just drop down a pasture. I think honestly, Mongols are not really easy, as I said before, but not really hard to play with. It's literally in the middle way. It's a fine line to play with Mongols, and exactly that all around it. It's not really hard. I see many people. I coach many Mongol players as well, and their biggest problem was only the timings. But like microing or understanding how Mongols play is actually not as bad or hard. Most of the time, you will tower rush anyway. Zushi. Zushi the same with China, by the way. Zushi even have more IOs. So you're gonna even struggle more to understand where to put your IOs. Because you can go up to 8 Imperial official with Zushi. So again, it's again really hard to like min-max your taxation, your pro scouting, relic collecting, pagodas, dynasty system. So everything is really hard around China and Zushi. So I would not pick that when I start playing with Age of Empires 4 for sure. But if you want to try to pick them and you play it correctly, you understand the civilization, it will be such a huge dominant civilization in your knowledge rank, right? Like compared to an OOTD, that you can easily beat most of the players on the rank leader. But for that, you really need to understand the civilization, and you might lose 100 games before you're gonna win one game with these 2 or 3 civilization. Next one, Ayubid. Ayubid is not really the same as Abbasid. It's harder to play. It is harder to play because you need to even macro your villagers on the berry bushes so you don't completely fully harvest those berries. You actually have to play with very many different wings against other civilization, but at the same time it's not really that hard. It's just like Mongols. There is one route that you can always do with the wings, and that's very fine. there's no problem with playing only that route. Like let's say you go to dervish into villager into um, military reinforcement, or you can go villager into dervish into military reinforcement. See, so you can just switch these up, or you can go military reinforcement into village into dervish into villager. So it's not really hard to understand how the wings work, and you can just choose one single path and you can play it in all games because it's gonna work. HRE is also not the easiest civilization because your prelates, you need to move your prelates left to right. If one Aachen chapel is not really just, you know, one Aachen chapel and that's enough. That's not how it works. You need to collect the relics. You need to boost your army. You always have to watch your units to where they are running because they are also very, very fast. You have very, very fast infantry with HRE. You don't start with gold early on, so you need to really understand the economy of HRE. So it's not really simple to play with, just like these other three civilizations. So you really need to push yourself into it to understand what you need to do. Byzantine is not hard. If someone is telling you Byzantine is hard, they are coping. You can actually, up until Conqueror 3, beat players without gathering sheep. Okay? Do you understand what I'm talking to you right now? You can beat people up to Conquer 3 without gathering a single fucking sheep. Not even berries. You can start with building farms in Dark Age and just beat players. It is not insanely hard. It is challenging to play because it requires a lot of micro and macro knowledge and where to put your cisterns. But it's not that hard, like comparing to like a Malian, right? You have the same generic units. You have Menaton, you have Spearman. Your Spearman is even stronger. You have Olive Oil, which would be a little bit like, makes it a little bit not as easy to play with because you need to spend your extra resources, right? Like again, every civilization has the same resources, not the Byzantine, because the Byzantine one extra, which is the olive oil. But compared to what Byzantine was back in the day, there would be another slot called PhD that would be Byzantine. But nowadays, Byzantine is very simple to play, very easy to play. So I can tell you that just pick up Byzantine if you wish to. It's gonna be a little bit challenging, right? It's not gonna be as intermediate or easy, or it's not a beginner civilization. But at the end, you're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna enjoy it. So we have 4 civilizations left. Now, 2 more civilizations will go to the hard. One of them is the Knight Templar, and the other one is the Rus. Now I can tell you why. With Rus, you need to always spam your hunting cabins at the correct time. So the hunting cabins have a correct timing and know how to put them, like example, not to put them next to each other. You need to professional scout, you need to collect the relics, you need to go hard trade house. There is a really stable builder for Rus. You need to always watch your military because the horse archers can easily die to spearmen or archers. So there's a lot of things to do with Rus, like crazy amount of things to do in like literally in 1 minute. Or even in Dark Age, you need to build 2 hunting cabin. How do you build a hunting cabin? How can you build a house when you just start with 200 wood, but you need 200 hunting cabin? How to get the professional scout? What to do if the enemy makes spearman? So everything is really based on your knowledge, and that's what makes the civilization very hard. Like China or Zushi because of the IOs. Rus, why is it so hard? Because you have to know every little timings to be successful, and because pro players know that, that's a really good reason why Rus is one of the most banned civilization, right next to HRE. Because pros can literally use the full 100% power of Rus, and also using warrior monks to buff your army all the time. Knights Templar. Why is it so hard to play with Knights Templar? You might ask. The reason behind it is because the pilgrims that you need to actually escort the pilgrims. Um, you can play it as like Papago and just do like Manatoms in H3 or Chevalier Confrere in H2 with archers. So there is like, let's say, simplicity. It's really good that you get food by gathering wood. But Knights Templar also based on timings and to understand how to protect your pilgrims, when to ignore your pilgrims, how to build your second TC style, which map you need to pick them on. It's really confusing for new players to play with Knights Templar because it is for new players or low league players. Knights Templar is actually hard to play with because you don't even have gunpowder units in H4, right? You don't have bombard, you don't have hand cannoneers. So in H4, 100% of the time, players will get destroyed because they don't understand how to play their H4. H2, it's very hard because you will be behind most of the time with villagers, and if you don't protect your pilgrims, then again, you're gonna be behind a lot. A lot, you're gonna be behind. Now, Ottoman is also a civilization that's challenged to play because you need to know when to put your military schools. Again, you don't need to build a Dark Age military school. If you wish to rush, just build a barrack. It's much better, not as much time consuming, and it's simpler. Much more simpler than building a Dark Age military school. Build a military school in Feudal Age and do not waste your time in Dark Age to try to build your military school. It doesn't generate much resource. I think if I calculated correctly, it's like 60 something, 61, 62 resource per minute. So, or maybe 60 resource per minute in Dark Age. It's not worth it. Do not waste your time to build Dark Age military school. Do whatever else, but do not build Dark Age military school because it's just waste of resource. Your villagers are just wasting insane amount of resource. So later on, Imperial is very easy because the Great Bombard and King Janissary Sipai. But H3 and H2 is not really simple. You need to know the solid play of Ottoman to understand how you need to play it, and that's it. Delhi challenging as well. The reason behind that because of your upgrades. I even see sometimes pro players forget to queue up their upgrades. Now imagine what happens with Delhi at low league, right? So even if pro players sometimes they forget the upgrades, like I would really put here a reaction by Beastie when he says like, oh, but he forgot to queue up the blah 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 upgrade. So it happens when other pro players react to the pro players. They forget to queue up upgrades. So again, Delhi is not easy, not beginner, not into it is a challenging civilization. But again, that doesn't mean that you should not play with Delhi. But all these civilization, I'm pretty sure you will have easier time to understand the game, how it works, the mechanism, and the micro, how to put your prelates, where to collect relics, when to build farms, and all the other things. The challenging and hard civilization are still good. You can still pick them up, but you will face that it's gonna be harder to win a game up until you understand what you are doing wrong and how to counter the enemy. All right, this is my Civ tier list for beginner or low league tier players. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I help you to pick civilization.